Hi, I am Roop founder director of K&I Magazine Hyderabad. For today's podcast session, we have Meryl Savithry from Savithry Studio with us. She is an architect, she is on faculty. Hi, Savithry, how are you?
Hi, Mr. Darak. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Uh, we met, if I'm not wrong, we met 6 months before.
Yes.
That was a great discussion. We had a great discussion together, and in that discussion only, just जो आपने सजेस्ट किया था हमको कि भाई यू शुड ऐड स्टूडेंट कॉलम आल्सो
Yes.
सो वी हैव एडेड द स्टूडेंट कॉलम इन द
I'm so
मैगजीन
glad. I'm so glad.
no no we are thankful to you that you have suggested us something good and when it comes to A&I magazine Hyderabad we always ready to take the thoughts or suggestion from our near and dear ones and implement on that. So in this seventh edition, you are there as a guest column also in our magazine. Thanks for
Super
giving
proud.
us a chance.
Thank you.
And we have a student column also.
Yes.
Luckily, that student is your
He's my
student.
student. Yes,
Yeah.
I've taught him.
Yeah. So I would like to know about your journey in this industry.
So I started pretty young because just like how people have a family of doctors and family of engineers, my family is a family of architects. And so I had a little bit of a background where my uncle has been an architect, my cousin, sister, brother, they're all architects. And so although I wanted to be a doctor, I landed in architecture from wanting to operate on hearts to now operating on buildings. It's been quite a hilarious journey, but yeah, I think I'm absolutely enjoying it, and I would say that my journey began as a student, and I always want to give back to the student community, and that's where my heart lies. And also wanting to practice architecture and interior projects came from the fact that I should give back more to my community and be able to teach more. And to be able to teach more, I think you should learn more. So I think as a professional, there's one thing that I learned is you have to unlearn to be able to learn. So I go back to my students, unlearn whatever I have, empty whatever I have, preempt myself, and then when I go back to my projects, I learn a lot more. So this journey of on and off learning and unlearning is what keeps me going, and I think yeah, that's pretty much how I've landed here, and I think I'm super happy at where I am today. Mom of two kids, still an architect, standing firm with a passion to teach and to learn. So
What do you enjoy more, teaching or practicing?
okay, that's a tough question. Both of them are the apple of my eye, but I think I enjoy practicing interior design more than teaching. But of course, like I said, it's almost like on a way balance. You're talking about two sides, so it's equal for me. But yeah, I think little bit biased towards practicing.
Practicing. So it's been how long you're working as an architect?
So it's been a good 10 years since
Great.
I've been practicing architecture, although I may not look like it, but yeah, it's been a good 10 years. You can say a decade of experience. I can proudly use the word a decade.
So can you talk about any of your side which has given you a great stepping stone? आता है ना बहुत सी बार ऐसे होता है कि हमको एक ऐसी साइट मिलती है जिससे पता चलता है कि सावित्री एन आर्किटेक्ट सावित्री you
So,
remember that?
yeah, so I think one project which is very close to my heart is when I was in my maternity phase with my daughter. That's back in 2017, 18, sorry, in 2018. I had a very challenging project that I was working on, although it was not a very high-end project. But for me, what really challenged me as a person and made me a better designer was the fact that my client had no brief. I mean, he just came with a brief, but not a brief, a written brief or anything of that sort. And for me, that was astonishing because as a person, I've been a very decisive, very descriptive, expressive person. So when I met someone who didn't know what they want, I was surprised. I was like, okay, he's building a 4-story home and he doesn't know what he wants. So for me to start from the scratch and go all the way to the end of the project, so literally my maternity phase went by in his home. So I would step in and out. All the 9 months of mine went in his house, and for me that was a real eye opener because I saw myself as a designer for the first time. The only thing that he told me, because he was someone who was always living in hotels, so the only thing that he told me was that, can you just make my bedroom feel like a hotel? It doesn't have to look like a hotel, but I want to feel like I walked into a hotel because I'm used to it. and I want my family to feel the same. I can't take my family with me to work, so I want my family to feel that way. Can you make it happen? And that was something that really intrigued me, and I started researching about hotels and how they are different from normal residences. What are the small nitty-gritties that make a project a home? And I think that was a very challenging project for me, and I think that's where I became a designer. Until then, maybe educationally, or you can say title wise, I was an architect, but practicing architect, I can say that project made me a practicing architect. So just grateful to clients who don't give me briefs.
Madam, what's your process to start the work? How do you take up the site? How do you start the work?
Okay, so although in my earlier years, you can say I lacked a little bit of professionality, because when you come out of a college, you don't learn practical life. You don't really know how to professionally be an architect. You've just theory based, you know what to do next. So when I started off, it was a journey for me. I've been adding things to my process, but now I have a solid process where it's a 5-step process. It's very simple. I can work with anybody sitting right here in India, even if it's an NRI client, and it's going to be a seamless process, because step number one is a questionnaire that I hand out to my client. It's a 40-page questionnaire, which usually Indian clients, take time to understand why so much. But then, I always tell them that think of this like a homework. Only when you do your homework is when I can do my work. So I always encourage them to sit down as a family, take a paper, pencil, cut images, paste it there. It's a digital world, I understand, but then when you do these small little things together, you feel like you're making your house a home. So that's my step number one. And then once my questionnaire comes in, I've built a methodology where I'm able to translate that questionnaire into a presentation. So that comes from basically the idea of understanding psychology in interior design, because I think that it's very, very important to understand psychology, because a person is living in that place. You need to understand their lifestyle, their choices, the way they like things, what they don't like, what doesn't go well with them, what kind of animals they have in their house. The material that you choose can totally be based on the kind of pets that they have.
True.
So those are little things that we have included in our questionnaire that help us translate to a presentation. Once we agree on the presentation, because a lot of times as designers we tend to go into the details and make a 3D, but a 3D is a very time consuming process. I'd like to simplify that. That's why I do a presentation. Once we agree on the presentation, then we move on to the next step, which is the 3D. Once they've agreed on the 3D and we think everything is looking great, then we give them an estimation. But I think people, in India have, or world over, have this thing that as soon as you land a designer, how much do you think this project will cost?
100%.
But as a designer, I say that it's not possible to give you a number out of nowhere. You have to understand. Say, for example, you choose a cup. It depends on what kind of cup you choose. The pricing lies on that, right? Like if you choose a ceramic cup, it could be 100 rupees. You choose a ceramic cup which is packed with leather coating, it's going to be 500 rupees. So how am I going to give you a number, right? So that is exactly why we work with a questionnaire, presentation, 3D, then estimation. Once that works out, then we give them a contract. Then we finally go on to starting the project off, and then we do an entire sign off. We give an SOS document to them. We also have incorporated something very new, which is we give a care guide to our clients.
What can you elaborate? Care guide?
So what we do is, say for example, when you give your blazer or your shirt to a laundry, when when it returns from the laundry, what happens is they give you a care guide. They tell you how to take care of that shirt, or when you buy an expensive shirt.
True.
So what we do is, see, the products that we put in, or the hard work that we put in into a project is a lot. You can't just mishandle it and then expect that it's going to last you for 10 years. You can't blame the designer, you can't blame the person who's manufactured the sofa for you. You handled it wrong, right? So what we do is we give you a care guide. Apart from that, we've also made a schedule where January through December, we tell you every month which one of your product can actually go for a cleanup or can actually go for a service. Because that helps you. See, it's not Diwali to Diwali. ऐसे होता नहीं है कि बस आप दिवाली पे घर साफ कर लो, एकदम चकार से घर लगे. It doesn't happen like that. You have to be able to constantly take care of your things. That's why you give your car for servicing every certain number of kilometers. And your home is like that. It needs a service. So that's why we come up with a care and an SOS guide where we tell our clients what to do and what not to do during the course, and that increases the longevity of their home. It makes their product more long lasting.
This is really good. I heard this for the first time. We met a number of architects, but we never heard about this care. That's nice. That's really
Like
nice.
I said, I'm always a learner, so I'm learning from clothes, laundry, from everybody.
इन स्टार्टिंग यू सेड कि जब हम लोग पढ़ के निकलते हैं थियोरेटिकल नॉलेज इज डिफरेंट, प्रैक्टिकल इज
Yes.
डिफरेंट. यू बीइंग a faculty also and you being an architect also, now how are you grooming up your students to cope up with this situation कि हम लोग जो theoretical पढ़ते हैं everyone don't get the chance कि भाई पढ़ाते पढ़ाते भी practice कर सके. So you're focusing something on that in your institute also now?
Yeah. So when I say I'm teaching at an institute or I'm associated with
Few of the
universities
colleges.
and colleges, what I'm saying is that I am a visiting faculty, because see, if I'm a full-time faculty, I cannot focus on my work, and if I'm fully focused on my work, I can't go back and give the community. So I try to strike a decent balance between how many number of days or how many hours I want to give back to my student community versus how much I want to give to my family and then to my work, because as a designer or as a business owner, you tend to lose track of time. And I think India is evolving and we're all learning that we really need work-life balance. Otherwise, you lose out on your family,
True.
you lose out on your work, or you lose out on your passion. One of the three. So if you want to have a balance between all that you desire to work with, I think work-life balance is important. And so I give a stipulated number of hours to the students. I'm not saying that I'm constantly involved in their life, but I try to take subjects which are closer to reality than just theory. For example, I don't take history of architecture because it's a very theoretically based subject. I try and take a subject which is close to materials or surveys, or you can say workshops, or you say site visits, or vendor relationships, professional practice. These are the kind of subjects or topics that I like to cover as an architect with my students, because otherwise the theory they're anyway getting with the syllabus. What they don't get is practical experience and being
Very
able
good.
to visit places and see. So one thing I've learned or I've been doing for the past couple of years with my vendors especially is, if my vendors are comfortable, I always request them and see if I can get my students to come over to their place, experience, and see and do a small little tour around their space so that it helps them take back something good. At the same time, what happens is, the first thing that you see is the first thing that you remember. So my students mostly remember my vendors. So when they start practicing, inherently they tend to trust my vendors that I have trusted. That makes it even more better for me because I feel like at least I've given back something to my vendors. Sometimes, you can't always give business to everybody, but at least in this way, you're trying to build a network between the student community and the vendors and the business people, the architects. So yeah, that's how I bridge the gap and that's how I give back to my students.
So basically, when it's come to your faculty, it's your passion.
Absolutely.
Doing it out of passion.
Absolutely. There is no way that I would ever look at being able to teach as a profession, because for me, I would say that the perfect balance between profession and passion is my interior and architecture practice. But then, if I would not, say that my teaching is a profession at all. I take it only as a passion, and I'm very clear about it from day one with the colleges that I teach with the students that I associate with. I always tell them that this is a passion. Don't expect that, if you ask me a question, I'll know the answer to it at all. Sometimes I may not know. I'm a human being. I mean,
Right.
I should be able to be honest with my students and say, okay, I'll get back to you. And I think that is something that I enjoy and I like when I tell my students that it's a passion. So even they don't have that high expectation that, she's a living textbook and whatever you ask her, she'll answer. If I know it, I answer. If I don't, I learn it and then I come back to it. That's something that I like to do for my students. I learn for them and then I come back and explain in a way that they should understand.
In like when it comes to architect and interiors, a number of subjects are involved. Like you have a flooring, you have a furniture, you have a space styling, and number of. So what is major thing that attracts you? That what is your like वो क्या बोलते हैं? You love doing it basically. more love doing that.
So as you said, interior design, as people think it's very easy, they think Pinterest से photo उठा लो और this can just replicate. But they don't understand the nitty-gritties of what goes into making that particular image look like the way it is, right? So in a world full of technical details that go into making a project, my favorite technical aspect of a project is lighting design, and I think that brings a spark in my eye. The minute I see a well-lit space, automatically it brings a smile to me. And if I'm able to deliver a place which has good lighting, it's almost like a win for me. I look at lighting design as a winning, key element in a project. I feel like it can make or break a project. You can have the world's most expensive sofa, but not have the right lighting to light it up, and it might look, underrated. But if you have, a sofa which is not so expensive, but you use the right kind of light, that can look very expensive. So I think that's what lighting design does to a project or to any product for that matter. And I think not just in interior, in general life also, whether you go to a store or a convention center, theater, wherever you go, lighting is a major part of everybody's day to day life.
So, like when it comes to lighting, again I must say, when it commercial project, there is a different aspect. Residential project, there is a different. And when it is suppose a retail showroom, when it comes to clothing and all, you need to have a different lighting. You have a jewelry store, you have a different. So
Absolutely.
you studied all about this, or you have practically experienced and you guide people.
Right. So when I started off, of course, like I said, see everything that ends well, I think births out of passion. So for me, again, lighting design birthed out of passion, and so I saw it as something that I should learn, although it was not really my forte. In fact, I think where I started was when I was doing my own house. I reached out to someone who was good at lighting because I wanted to be able to light up my home well, and I didn't get a response. I was waiting for about a week, and every day I would get a delayed response. So I just decided, I'm like, okay, fine, let's just dust your hands and let me get into the field and let me just learn this. And so that's where I began learning. And the deeper I got into it, I started associating with a lot of workshops from Italy where they talked about lighting. People who did their masters in Italy and they came back to India and they're practicing lighting design. I met them. I learned out of them. I met a lot of vendors that are proficient in lighting design, and I think that's where I built my passion for lighting design. And yeah, primarily I can say that I've learned everything about lighting design from the perspective of a user first, not as a perspective of a professional first. So I sat as a user, understood how it feels in different kinds of lighting. What does it mean? What kind of psychology does lighting play? Then I started learning on it, building my data and my research on it, and then I've landed at understanding how different commercial projects are, how different residential projects are. What is the lux that you have to calculate? What kind of how do you work with Dialux reports? What kind of lighting fixtures should you use for a residential versus a commercial project? What kind of lighting is underlit? What kind of lighting is overlit? What can an overlit space do? What can an underlit space do? So I've constantly been comparing various projects, learning out of case studies, and that's how I've landed at being able to identify what is good lighting and what's not.
That's so nice. As a faculty, if you want to give a message to the students, what would be that message?
As I mentioned in my conversation earlier, the one thing that I really enjoy doing, and I think that everybody should, not just the student, because we're all students at heart, no matter what we're following, no matter where and which field we belong to. I think the one thing that I, would endorse is unlearn if you have to learn. Don't keep filling your cup. See, it's as simple as this. If this cup was full and I wanted a refill, and if I refilled it, it would overflow. But if I emptied it, I would have the opportunity to fill a little bit more into the cup. So अगर आप खाली नहीं करोगे तो आप भरोगे कैसे? And unless you as a person teach somebody, you don't have to go teach in a college. It can be anybody. It can be your kids, it can be your family, it can be your friends, your acquaintances, your business relationships. Sit down, make conversations, because through conversations you learn and unlearn. And I think that's one thing that I would always tell everyone to do is just make conversations. Don't ever think that any conversation is silly or too small, too big. Approach people, go meet them. Don't ever stand back and feel like, oh, am I worth to talk to this person? You never know what doors can open through a conversation. Because for me, a lot of my high network clients or my really big projects, book worthy projects have come only from conversations where we've met in just expos, exhibitions, and we've just made conversation that led to them understanding how much knowledge I have. Then we met outside of that space in their office, in my office. That's when we realized that we have something that we can connect for. That became a project, and that became part of my earning. So I would definitely say that learning and learning can also bring you business.
100%. That's totally agree. One last question. What do you feel about ANI magazine? How do you find it?
So the first time I met you was because I landed on an ANI post and on Instagram, and I myself, like I said, I don't hesitate making conversations with people. I still remember I had texted you all on Instagram saying, "Can I make, can you guys make some time to meet with me? And I would love to discuss because I had noticed that there was something that this magazine had, and that there was so much more potential to it." And that's exactly why I reached out to you all and sent a text, and we immediately connected. We came and met. I had a very, very beautiful 45-minute conversation with you all, and that's when we realized that we could add a student column. So I think What the beauty about a magazine like this is that one, it helps architects and interior designers, read things that they probably would not have landed on before, read about vendors that they may have not seen before in Hyderabad because maybe those vendors haven't been part of exhibitions or expos or for whatever reason. But ANI gives them a beautiful opportunity of being there in the magazine, and this goes out to all the architecture professionals. So when architects, architects love reading. Most of the architects, they like flipping through books and reading, and they like imagery and all of that. And so I think ANI magazine is a perfect blend of good imagery and great content, well written content, well aligned content, and the fact that ANI, just like me, is a learner, is the fact that I instantly connected, and that's what I love and I endorse about this particular magazine. And I think I would always endorse this magazine no matter how long, or even if I didn't have a column. I mean, it's not that I have a column, so I'm endorsing it. Even before that, I had landed
Yes.
to meet you all. I mean, when I
Yes.
had no connection with ANI at all, I had met you.
As I said you in the starting, you were the reason that we have started the student column. Honestly
Right.
speaking.
And I really hope that this goes on with
No.
or without me or anything. I really hope that students
No.
come in and give you guys content.
It will continue, but with you.
Absolutely. I mean, I would love to be a vital part of this journey because I really think that it's really prestigious to be able to bring content to a table. It's not that easy. It's not easy to bring content to a table every edition. See, you can ask an author how it feels to write a book. Sometimes it takes him a year to be able to bring together so much of data, analyze it, put it in a way that people understand it, bring images, and then to be able to work with so many architects and designers. Not that I have anything against my fraternity, but I think my fraternity is always dog busy. They're always super busy for no reason sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but still being able to connect with all of them, bring content from all of them, sit down and put this together, and bringing so many editions hasn't been anything short of a journey. And I think I should really congratulate ANI for being able to come this far. I'm really looking forward to this just going viral internationally also. I definitely know that it can, because the standard at which you guys produce the magazine is definitely international, and I think it should be there. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. You recently you were awarded by Triple ID also.
Yes.
So which project was awarded?
So this was again for lighting design, which is very strange. So I had actually entered one of my lighting design customized product as a product design, and I had a concept where I built out of Mission Mangalyaan. So I was supposed to do the lighting design for a bar counter, and it had to go well with the entire place because that's the key place for the entire space. So it could make or break the way that entire frame looked in a picture. So I was thinking carefully, and I was like, why should product always just be based out of inspiration of some image or something like that? How about I just sketch a new concept? Then I sat down and I sketched a concept based on Mission Mangalyaan, where my thinking was, what if Mars had life? How would it be? And I'm sure that's the same question why Mission Mangalyaan happened. That's why India attempted to go see if there is life there and what's happening. So I sketched out a lighting fixture that resembled Mars, and I brought in a lot of green foliage that to represent the life on any particular planet. And so I sketched all of that out, and then I gave it to my vendors. We had a glass blower involved. We got my glass blowers to blow the glass in that particular manner, and then we made a prototype in about 2 by 1 feet size, and then it looked really good to us. Then we upscaled it and we made it like a 200 SFT large product. So it was a journey in itself, and for me, I think being able to get an award for something like that really pushed my boundary, helped me understand that it's not always about the Pinterest, it's not always about finding inspiration just like that on tip of the finger. Sometimes you have to sit down, sketch. Sometimes you have to go back to the olden days and just close your eyes, imagine how a certain thing has to look, and manufacture it. When you manufacture it, you know the power of that product. So I think that's what got me the award.
I can relate ourselves with this, like going back to old days. Today's is a digital world. So when we were planning to start up with the magazine, everyone said कि भाई magazine कौन पढ़ेगा, print media का ज़माना गया. So we want people to come back to the school days, and we are lucky enough with the support of architects, interiors, our paid partners. We are doing well, and you have given nice message to the aspiring designer or a future designer, many architects कि भाई Pinterest से कॉपी मत करो, तुम जो काम करो Pinterest पे जाना चाहिए.
Absolutely, वो तो आपका point है.
Yeah.
I mean, superb. I mean, I would use that somewhere again.
ये अपना Pinterest से कॉपी मत करो, रेफरेंस जैसे यूज करो, बट कुछ काम ऐसे करो जो Pinterest पे जाए, लोग उसको रेफरेंस बनाए. You have done that with your triple ID. That is the reason you are awarded by triple ID.
Absolutely.
Congratulations for that, and it was nice that you have given us a good amount of time.
Thank you.
And as always, no doubt I met with you for a second time, but it's great talking to you. I had
Absolutely.
learned a lot from you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
thank you
It was
so
a pleasure meeting you, and a big congratulations to ANI.
Thank you so much.